There is a battle taking place inside you every day. No one sees it. There are no soldiers, no weapons, no battlefield covered in smoke. Yet, this invisible battle may determine more about your life than anything happening in the outside world. It begins when someone disrespects you, when a person you trusted disappoints you, when someone ignores your message, when your plans collapse, when criticism reaches you, when another person's success makes you question your own progress. In those moments, something important happens. Life gives you an event, but your mind decides what that event will become. It can become anger, fear, resentment, self-doubt, or it can become discipline, wisdom, patience, strength. That choice is where Stoicism begins. Marcus Aurelius knew this battle intimately. He ruled one of the most powerful empires the ancient world had ever seen, but his life was far from peaceful. He faced war, disease, political betrayal, personal loss, the enormous responsibility of governing Rome. Yet Marcus understood something many powerful people never learn. It is possible to command thousands of people and still be a slave to yourself. A ruler controlled by anger is not free. A wealthy man controlled by greed is not free. A respected man terrified of criticism is not free. A successful man addicted to approval is not free. Real freedom begins somewhere else. It begins when another person's behavior can no longer command your emotions, when uncertainty cannot force you into panic, when criticism cannot determine your worth, when success cannot make you arrogant, and when failure cannot convince you that your story is finished. The Stoics spent centuries studying this kind of freedom, not freedom from hardship, freedom within hardship. Today, you'll discover 10 Stoic lessons that can help you become harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, harder to discourage, and far more difficult for circumstances to control. And the final lesson connects everything. Because once you understand it, you'll realize that the greatest opponent you have been fighting was never another person. It was always closer than you imagined. Lesson 1. Guard the gates of your mind. Imagine an ancient city surrounded by enormous stone walls. There is only one entrance. At that entrance stands a guard. Every person who wishes to enter must first receive permission. Now imagine that city is your mind. Every criticism is standing outside. Every insult, every fear, every opinion, every rumor, every memory, every expectation, every negative thought. The problem is that most people have no guard. The gates remain open. Someone says something cruel, come inside. Someone criticizes you, come inside. A frightening possibility appears, come inside. A stranger online dislikes you, come inside. Before long, your mind is crowded with people and thoughts that never deserved residence there. Then you wonder why peace feels impossible. The Stoics understood that the event itself is rarely the whole problem. What matters is the judgment you attach to it. Suppose someone insults you. The physical event lasts perhaps 5 seconds, but then you replay it. You imagine what you should have said. You wonder whether other people agree. You question whether the insult contains truth. 5 seconds becomes 5 hours. The original event ended long ago. Your judgment kept it alive. This is one of the most important distinctions in Stoicism. What happened is one thing. What you tell yourself about what happened is another. A rejection may mean one opportunity closed. Your mind may translate it into, I am not good enough. A mistake may mean one decision was poor. Your mind may translate it into, I always ruin everything. Someone leaving may mean a relationship ended. Your mind may translate it into, nobody will ever stay. Notice the transformation. Reality gives you a sentence. Fear writes an entire book. Your job is not to prevent every difficult event. That is impossible. Your job is to become the guard. When a painful thought arrives, ask, does this deserve entry? Is it true? Is it useful? Is it within my control? Does carrying it make me wiser? If not, leave it outside. You cannot prevent people from throwing things toward your mind, but you do not have to build a home for everything they throw. Lesson 2. Separate the event from the story. Epictetus experienced a kind of external powerlessness most modern people can barely imagine. He lived as an enslaved person. His circumstances were controlled by others. Yet, the philosophy associated with Epictetus became one of history's clearest arguments for inner freedom. Why? Because he recognized a distinction no external master could completely remove. Another person may influence what happens to you, but your judgment about what happens remains a different territory. Think about how quickly judgment operates. Your friend doesn't reply. Event, they're ignoring me. Story, your boss asks to speak tomorrow. Event, I'm in trouble. Story, someone looks at you strangely. Event, they don't like me. Story, a plan fails. Event, my future is falling apart. Story. The mind performs this transformation so quickly that we often confuse interpretation with fact. This is why emotional discipline begins with slowing down. When something disturbs you, say, describe what happened without interpretation. Instead of, he humiliated me, try, he said these words. Instead of, she doesn't care about me, try, she hasn't replied yet. Instead of, my career is finished, try, I didn't receive this opportunity. Suddenly the problem becomes smaller. Reality becomes manageable again. Fear loves vague language. This is terrible. Everything is ruined. Nobody respects me. I'll never recover. Reason asks for evidence. What exactly happened? What exactly changed? What exactly can I do now? That movement from emotional exaggeration toward precise reality is one of the foundations of Stoic strength. You don't need to lie to yourself. You need to stop allowing fear to lie to you. Lesson 3. Protect your attention like treasure. People protect money. They lock doors, create passwords, watch bank accounts, avoid unnecessary spending. Yet every morning, millions of people give away something even more valuable without thinking. Their attention. You wake up, reach for your phone. Within minutes, your mind belongs to other people. News, messages, arguments, videos, opinions, comparison, someone else's success, someone else's anger, someone else's life. Before your own day has properly begun, strangers have already decided what you are thinking about. The Stoics would recognize this as a serious loss of freedom, because your attention is not merely where you look. Your attention determines what receives your life. Spend 2 hours thinking about someone who insulted you, and that person has received 2 hours of your existence. Spend 3 years obsessing over someone who left, and the relationship has continued inside your mind long after it ended outside it. Attention is life. Seneca warned repeatedly about wasting time, because time is one possession that cannot truly be recovered. Money can return. Status can return. Opportunities can return. Yesterday cannot. Imagine your attention as a flame. Wherever you point it, something grows. Point it toward resentment, and resentment grows. Point it toward comparison, and insecurity grows. Point it toward discipline, and discipline grows. Point it toward learning, and wisdom grows. Point it toward meaningful work, and capability grows. This means every day you are feeding something. The question is, what are you feeding? You cannot build an extraordinary life while constantly feeding ordinary distractions. Protect your attention. Not everything deserves a response. Not every argument deserves participation. Not every opinion deserves consideration. Not every notification deserves interruption. Sometimes the strongest response is simply, this is not worthy of my time. Lesson 4. Stop expecting life to follow your script. A surprising amount of suffering comes from invisible contracts. Contracts we create with reality, without reality ever agreeing to them. They should appreciate me. He should understand. She should stay. My career should be further ahead. This should have happened already. People should treat me fairly. Maybe they should. But Stoicism asks a different question. What happens when they don't? The gap between expectation and reality is where enormous frustration grows. You imagine how something should happen. Reality chooses differently. Now you are not only dealing with the event, you are dealing with your anger that the event violated your private script. The Stoics practiced mentally preparing for uncertainty, not because they wanted bad things to happen, because they refused to become psychologically dependent upon everything happening perfectly. Before traveling, remember delays are possible. Before entering business, remember failure is possible. Before trusting someone, remember human beings are imperfect. Before pursuing success, remember recognition is never guaranteed. Before loving someone, remember all human relationships are temporary in one form or another. This doesn't create pessimism, it creates preparedness. The fragile mind says, this cannot happen. The prepared mind says, this may happen, and if it does, I will respond. That sentence changes everything. You no longer need reality to guarantee comfort before you feel strong. You begin trusting your ability to adapt. And the person who trusts their ability to adapt requires far less certainty. Lesson 5. Become difficult to provoke. If someone knows exactly what words will make you angry, they possess a button. If they can press that button whenever they want and receive the same reaction every time, who is controlling whom? This is why uncontrolled anger can become a form of obedience. Someone insults you, you immediately react. They expected anger, you provided it. Someone provokes you online, you spend an hour arguing. They wanted your attention, you provided it. Someone behaves disrespectfully, you lose control and damage your own reputation. They created the trigger, you supplied the consequences. That is not power. Power begins in the pause. Someone says something offensive. Pause. Your body may react. Your heart may accelerate. Anger may rise. Stoicism does not require pretending those sensations aren't there. It asks you not to hand them authority. Feel anger. Observe anger. Then decide. There is a difference between experiencing emotion and obeying emotion. That difference is freedom. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that difficult people were part of life. He expected to encounter selfishness, arrogance, dishonesty, and ignorance. Why? Because expectation removed surprise. If you expect every person to behave wisely, foolishness will constantly shock you. If you understand human beings are imperfect, you can respond without allowing every imperfection to become a personal crisis. The goal is not becoming cold. The goal is becoming deliberate. Your response should reflect your character, not theirs. When another person behaves badly, don't allow them to recruit you into becoming a worse version of yourself. Sometimes walking away is strength. Sometimes silence is strength. Sometimes calmly setting a boundary is strength. And sometimes speaking firmly is necessary. But whatever you choose, let you choose it. Not anger, not ego, not provocation. You. Lesson 6. Need less. Fear. Less people often imagine control as force. But some of the strongest forms of control require no force at all. They require leverage. If you desperately need someone's approval, they have leverage. If you desperately need a particular relationship, that relationship has leverage. If you cannot tolerate losing status, status controls you. If you need constant praise, criticism becomes terrifying. If comfort becomes necessary, hardship becomes frightening. Your strongest attachment can become your weakest point. This does not mean Stoicism asks you to own nothing or love nobody. It means enjoy without becoming enslaved. Love without abandoning yourself. Build wealth without making money your identity. Pursue achievement without believing failure makes you worthless. Enjoy comfort while remaining capable of discomfort. There is an ancient story about Diogenes and Alexander the Great. Alexander possessed enormous worldly power. Diogenes lived with remarkably little. When Alexander offered him a favor, Diogenes reportedly asked him simply to move because he was blocking the sunlight. Whether we focus on the story historically or philosophically, its lesson is striking. What can you offer a person who does not desperately need what you possess? Very little. That person becomes difficult to manipulate. Modern life constantly teaches you to need more. More attention, more followers, more possessions, more validation, more comfort. Stoicism asks, how much of this do I actually need to live well? Usually, the answer is less than you think, and every unnecessary dependency you remove gives a piece of freedom back to you. Lesson 7. Let your ego lose. There are arguments you could win that would still make your life worse. There are corrections you could make that accomplish nothing. There are people you could prove wrong who will never admit it. The ego hates this. The ego wants victory. Recognition, the final word. It wants other people to know, I was right. But wisdom asks, what will this victory cost me? Imagine someone misunderstands you. Your ego wants to explain everything, then explain again, then provide evidence, then argue, then convince them. Hours disappear, peace disappears, and perhaps they still misunderstand you. Sometimes being misunderstood is cheaper than trying to force understanding. Socrates became famous partly because he approached knowledge with intellectual humility. The wise person can say, I may be wrong. That sentence terrifies the ego. But it liberates the mind, because if you can be wrong, you can learn. If you must always be right, every correction becomes an enemy. Watch yourself the next time someone disagrees. Are you listening? Or are you simply waiting for your opportunity to speak? Are you seeking truth or victory? Those are not always the same thing. The ego protects an image. Wisdom develops character. The ego asks, how do I look? Wisdom asks, what am I becoming? Choose the second question. Lesson 8. Everything external is temporary. Look around you. Your home, your possessions, your career, your body, your relationships, your reputation, your achievements. Everything is changing, even while you look at it. Stoicism does not use this truth to make life meaningless. It uses impermanence to make life precious. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome. Today, the empire he knew exists only in history. Powerful people once walked through palaces, believing their influence was permanent. Their names disappeared, their buildings became ruins, their wealth changed hands. Time kept moving. It will do the same with us. This means your possessions are better understood as temporary responsibilities than permanent ownership. Your money is temporary. Use it wisely. Your health is temporary. Care for it. Your relationships are temporary. Love people while they're here. Your opportunities are temporary. Use them. Your life is temporary. Live it. Attachment says, this must remain. Gratitude says, I am thankful this is here now. Notice the difference. Attachment creates fear. Gratitude creates appreciation. The Stoic does not refuse to love because loss is possible. The Stoic loves more consciously because loss is possible. When you stop demanding permanence from temporary things, you can finally enjoy them without constantly fearing their disappearance. Lesson 9. Remember that your time is limited. Imagine your bank account contained a balance that decreased every second. You could watch it fall, but you could never see exactly how much remained. Would you spend it differently? That account exists. It is your life. Every morning you receive another day, but there is no guarantee you'll receive the next one. The Stoics called attention to mortality through the practice, often summarized as memento mori. Remember that you will die. It sounds dark until you understand its purpose. It isn't telling you to obsess about death. It's telling you to stop wasting life. How many things are you postponing? The work, the apology, the difficult conversation, the business, the book, the exercise, the trip, the boundary, the decision. You keep telling yourself, later. But later is not a possession. It is a possibility. This is why remembering mortality creates urgency without panic. You realize many things aren't worth your limited time. That argument? Probably not. That grudge? Probably not. Trying to impress people you don't even respect? Certainly not. Mortality clarifies priorities. Imagine you're 90 years old looking backward. Which decision would you wish you had made today? That question cuts through noise. You will not live forever. Good. Now you have a reason to stop living carelessly. Lesson 10. Conquer the person in the mirror. Alexander conquered territories. Rome conquered nations. Generals conquered armies. But every external victory eventually disappears. There is another conquest. One no historian needs to record. The conquest of yourself. Can you wake up when comfort tells you to stay in bed? Can you remain silent when ego demands an argument? Can you continue when motivation disappears? Can you behave honorably when nobody is watching? Can you resist pleasure when pleasure damages your future? Can you remain calm when someone wants you angry? Can you accept failure without becoming a failure? Can you succeed without becoming arrogant? These are victories, small, invisible, repeated, and together they create character. Most people want to control their environment before controlling themselves. They want better circumstances, better people, more money, more respect, more opportunity. But imagine receiving everything you want while remaining undisciplined. More money amplifies poor decisions. More attention amplifies ego. More power amplifies character defects. External success cannot rescue a person who has never learned internal government. Marcus Aurelius possessed enormous authority, yet his private writings reveal a man repeatedly reminding himself to be patient, rational, disciplined, humble, and just. Why would an emperor need reminders? Because no amount of status eliminates human weakness. You wake up with yourself every morning. You carry yourself into every relationship, every job, every success, every failure, every room. If you cannot live peacefully with the person inside your own mind, changing the room will never completely solve the problem. So conquer what actually belongs to you. Your habits, your judgments, your impulses, your attention, your character, your response. That is your empire. Rule it well. The Stoic Code. Now connect all 10 lessons. Guard your mind. Separate facts from interpretation. Protect your attention. Stop demanding that reality obey your expectations. Become difficult to provoke. Reduce unnecessary dependencies. Let ego lose when wisdom can win. Remember, everything external is temporary. Respect the limited nature of time. And above all, master yourself. None of these principles will make life painless. People will still disappoint you. Plans will still fail. You will still experience grief. You will still make mistakes. You will still occasionally lose your temper. Stoicism is not perfection, it is practice. The goal is not, I will never become angry again. The goal is, I will notice anger before anger controls my behavior, not, I will never worry. But, I will stop treating every fearful thought as truth. Not, I will never care what anyone thinks. But, I will stop allowing every opinion to determine my worth. Not, I will never fail. But, failure will become information rather than identity. That is progress. You become less reactive, less dependent, less fragile, less controllable, and simultaneously more deliberate. more resilient, more disciplined, more peaceful. The outside world may look exactly the same, but the person meeting that world has changed. And that changes everything. Closing. Before you leave this video, think about the person who currently has the greatest ability to disturb your peace. Maybe someone criticized you, betrayed you, ignored you, left you, disrespected you. Now ask yourself, how much authority have I given this person inside my own mind? They may have controlled one event, but did you give them the next week, the next month, the next year? Did their words become your inner voice? Did their behavior change the way you see yourself? If so, reclaim that territory. Not through revenge, not by proving yourself, not by forcing them to apologize, by mastering your response. That is how Stoicism defeats manipulation. You stop giving other people access to switches inside your mind. You stop allowing praise to inflate you and criticism to destroy you. You stop demanding certainty from tomorrow. You stop asking yesterday to change. You stop treating temporary things as permanent possessions. And gradually, something extraordinary happens. The world loses some of its power over you, not because the world became kinder, because you became stronger. Marcus Aurelius could command an empire. Epictetus possessed almost no external authority, yet both point toward the same truth. The most important kingdom you will ever govern is the one inside yourself. Guard its gates, protect its attention, question its judgments, train its habits, strengthen its character. And remember, the greatest victory is not when nobody challenges you. It is when challenges arrive and you no longer abandon yourself. If these lessons spoke to you, write one word in the comments: unshaken. Let it represent a decision, not to control everyone around you, not to control every outcome, but to become increasingly capable of controlling what has always belonged to you: your judgment, your attention, your choices, your response, your character. Subscribe to Stoic Mind Empire if you want to continue building a calmer, stronger, more disciplined mind through timeless Stoic wisdom. Until next time, guard your mind, control your response, need less, fear less, master yourself. Because when you learn to rule yourself, the world becomes far less capable of ruling you. VidIQ.